Hey, welcome fans of the Veteran Sports Voice podcast. Today we got a very special guest of my guy Ian McCants. He's been friends with. We got Kevin Johnson. He's an Atlanta native. He knows Georgia sports the hard way. Decades of highs, heartbreaks, and everything in between. Kevin's been friends with my co-host, like I said, Ian McCants, since 1998. And if you're wondering, like me, how an Alabama guy and a Georgia guy stay tight that long through that rivalry, well, that rivalry is actually part of it. Years of battles, debates, mutual respect forged through that Alabama stress test. That's what we're going to be talking about. So tonight we're going to be talking the unmatched passion of that UGA faithful, where the Bulldogs stand in the playoff picture, and yes, that annual test that is Alabama for Georgia. This is real Georgia sports talk with a real perspective, with real resilience. This isn't surface level fandom. This is culture, history, and survival brought to you tonight. Kevin Johnson, welcome to the Veteran Sports Voice podcast, brother. Honor to have you on.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, glad to have you here, brother. Welcome to the show. And, man, like Sean said, we've known each other a long time since, 1998. We met in college. And I think that we can agree that Atlanta is a totally different world now. Okay. So, we take it back to, you was that guy showing me what the city was about. And it felt very gritty, at the time, but we loved it. But now, man, it's like everything has shifted. It doesn't feel blue collar anymore. Like when Ted Turner, was running the city like a gangster. And, we had the Georgia Dome and those old buildings. But now it just feels very, like modern, high tech. You go to Truist Park or the Benz, and they're very nice facilities, but they feel more corporate. So in your opinion, do you think that the culture overall has changed, with us moving from that blue collar feel to a more luxury, type situation? Do you feel that has changed the soul of the Atlanta fan?
Good question. The Atlanta fans, with the city being very transient, a lot of people that are here, not from here, typically will bring their fanhood from where they're from here. So you have a lot of locals here. And I feel like it's raw with us. We have a lot of the raw feelings, the understanding, the hurts, and all of that. And we watched all the changes. So I think the culture as a whole changed a little bit, but the rawness is still the same.
Right.
I'll have to go with that, mainly because of the fact that, like you said, Ted Turner being the gunslinger that he was truly the a visionaire of just making sure that he got his product out there, and everyone was, if you didn't even know about the Braves, you watched the Braves because they were on TV, and so it was just one of those easy access things. And with that, new owners coming through now, some have similar, I'll say enthusiasm, but not similar. And so those things kind of play a part with the culture kind of changing a little bit or shifting, I would say.
Right. And we're going to get into the Braves a little bit later on. Sean, he thinks that he can match, any Braves knowledge that you have, going back through history. But yeah, man, I love that perspective. And, that's what I love. Oh, look at him. He's flexing the shirt.
Yeah. See, you got that 2021, baby. I'm looking at that now. Was it 1995? Come on, baby. I still remember where I was at, baby.
But I got
too.
The best cup. And actually, got a question for you, Kevin, before we move on. Sean and I talked about this earlier. And so I'm gonna let Sean ask this question.
Oh, so you know what? So here's the question, and Ian and I's friendship was forged on the same base. So I'm an Arkansas Razorback fan, right? And we had been in the SEC for a minute, but I still identified us as that team that was in the Southwest Conference that took 8 teams from Texas to play one from Arkansas and beat them. And it wasn't until Ian kind of explained the SEC and what it meant, and that saying, it does just mean more, but I remember as a kid, a lot of people don't know this. I was adopted when I was 6 years old. I was in foster care, but my foster dad was a huge Razorback fan, and I remember sitting on his lap and just talking about those Razorbacks. And then, as growing up, once I was adopted, there was I grew up with some kids, the Parkinsons, and their mom and dad made sure that we went to every game at War Memorial in Little Rock, and so those years is when I knew I was locked in, dialed into Arkansas as a Razorback fan. So, Ian and KJ, when did you know that you were that Bulldog fan? And Ian, when did you know you were that Bama fan?
Oh man, Kev, you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I like that. Man. I like it.
I put it to you like this. I'll go first because I feel like Ian's story is more passionate than mine. Huge sports fan, just all around. I remember as a kid being like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, watching the Atlanta Hawks, and the game would be on, but my bedtime was at 8:30, and so and my dad was strict, so 8:30 you go to bed, and I would wake up, like go in my room, act like I went to sleep. I'll sneak back out and like hide behind the couch so I can watch the games and the ending and things, like Boston just beating our butts every year. I hated that, but anyway, the similar thing happened with football with Georgia. I was around the time just watching, just all sports, and the passion that I had, like when my team lost, it was something that was just like, what is, I didn't understand that feeling, and I was really young, and so I think it just kind of grew with me. It's just there's a saying, it doesn't take a whole day to recognize sunshine. It's like when you see it, it's there. And it's similar with my passion. It was like it was just there. And the team, I like the maybe it was the colors. I don't know what it was. It was just I like things about it, and it was passionate and a feeling that just stayed with me from, like, I don't know, probably 8 or 9 years old when I remember just being passionate about it. But that's my story.
I love it. Well,
yeah, absolutely.
The funny thing about me, man, when I was a kid, I didn't even really care about football or like Bama. Now, I liked Florida State for some reason. I liked Peter Tom Willis, that early Charlie Ward. And so, they kept missing field goals and losing. I was a Florida State fan, but when it became crazy for me now, in my hometown, Atmore, Alabama, we've had a couple of people to play for Bama. I actually had a cousin that played for Bama that was All-American, and he was drafted by Tampa Bay. But when it got real for me, I had a classmate whose brother played on the team, and so I went with him to a game. And so this was 1992, the year that Alabama won the championship. And on top of that, my mother's classmate was Woody McCorvey, who was Alabama's offensive coordinator. He went on to be the athletic director at Clemson. I think he was there with Dabo, here recently. But so we got to be around the team. So, I'm around Coach Gene Stallings and, actually seeing the players. And the first game that I went to, man, was in Starkville. And even though Bama won the championship that year and beat Miami, that's what we remember. But the season was a struggle, man. I mean, they barely beat Mississippi State. Like, it was like a last-second touchdown. I remember hearing those cowbells. I was like, how can they do this? Like, this should be illegal, and then just to feel, see my team escape and then go on and win a championship. I became crazy about Bama when they were losing. So we had lost to Auburn like 6 years in a row. And these people running around here talking about fear the thumb. I'm in Connecticut at submarine school, man. They don't even show SEC ball up there. Like Bama down here losing to Auburn, and they got Rutgers basketball on TV up there, man. And so I was so crazy. Like every time Bama lost, I had this Montero Sport, man. I'll put another sticker on my car, another bumper sticker. And I'm riding through Connecticut with a whole bunch of stickers on my car because they was losing a lot. But that's when I became crazy, when, it was taken away from me and then they were losing. And then when I come back down to the South now, Saban's taking off, and it was just a whole new feeling, man. But, that's my story.
All right.
But that's one of the
It
things
grows
that
on you.
I love about our friendship, Kevin. You know, two sides of the coin, man. You know, we root for different teams. Usually in friendships, that's an issue, right? Because I give you a quick story, man. You know, when I was in Alabama, I had a coworker that died, and I didn't go to his funeral because I hated him. I was like the only person in the whole company that didn't go because he was an Auburn fan. And I didn't go to his funeral. So that's how serious it is, man. So how has our friendship managed to survive, even though our two teams, you know, we usually have to go through each other for big success? So
yeah. You know, that's hard because a lot of friendships has ended over sports, and it's funny that ours didn't. I want to say that I've been used to a lot of disappointment when it comes to Atlanta sports. So those expectations wasn't as high, I guess. You know, the roller coaster of success and failure and things like that. And we would be good enough to definitely say, hey, we are a team to, you know, definitely circle on the calendar, but we didn't do anything. You know, it's I guess the occasional SEC championship or whatever, but you know, no national championships. We'll get hot at the wrong time, you know, lose the first game of the season and, you know, rip off 10 straight wins. And then, you know, but because the first loss, it was a bad loss. And with the BCS, any undefeated team at the time was basically going to get in. So, you know, it was a whole lot of things like that. And so I think knowing that I had an expectation that was not knowing that it was, hey, we could lose this. I think I was more realistic, I guess, if you had to put a adjective on that. But anyway, I think at this point, when we would lose, you was the only one that gave perspective of the loss. You know, it was like, hey, you know, you could go in and be like, oh yeah, we beat y'all, but you would just dial it back, give me perspective, like, yeah, man, look, this is what happened, and you guys on the level of probably should have won this game, but you know, and you can see the things that made us lose, and it was, you know, just a really good analysis of it. So you gave perspective, and it was like cool, and then, you know, I can't even say much about us beating you because I think we went a stretch of like,
you know, I felt guilty even you know trying to come at you, but you know, even this year, bro, we talked about it. Like I was at the Alabama Georgia game in Athens, and clear as day, Georgia should have won that game. Wide receivers running loose in the secondary, and you know, we won. But even then, I was like, nah, you know. And so at least with you, you know, I try to be realistic. Everybody else, definitely.
and you know, KJ, I got to give you credit on that because you know what, Ian has always been like that. Like he'll break down a game like that. Like I remember he used to do that, and he would look at the game, or I'd ask him, hey, what's going on? Even if it's his seat, even you remember this, you would give the positives and the negative, but you looked at it from a realist point of view. Like you know, you wouldn't. Right. I look at, you know, you look at it as, you know, what is Alabama going to do, not as what as a fan you want them to do, what they're capable of. Like I remember you talking about that game. You're like, if Gunnar Stockton would have just looked up and could have read all the receivers that were running loose there.
Oh man,
that was a different game. But Gunnar had blinders on, man. I don't know what happened. Pressure got to him early, but you always have been like that. And I hear y'all talking, and I'm over here like, y'all do know y'all could end up in the national championship playing one another right now, right? And if that happens, I'm going to be pushing all y'all's buttons trying to fire y'all off, just so you know.
Well, guess what? We've been there before.
We'll be there. we'll be at that game. If we make it, well, I'm there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'll be your chauffeur if that's okay. I just want to be there. I want to be part of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that leads actually to my next question. You know, Kevin, like you said, you've been a lifelong Bulldog fan, man. You lived through it all, almost years. Then, you know, you waiting decades, and then back to back. You know, so it's like feast or famine. You know, but here we are, 2025. y'all just beat the brakes off my team. And, you headed to the Sugar Bowl, number 3 seed. And honestly, man, I'm high on Georgia. I don't think they're perfect. It hasn't been a perfect road. They, had some fourth quarter deficits. They had to come back. So how do you feel about this squad, compared to the, like the 21-22 championship teams? Like, do you feel that they feel that they're unbeatable? Because that's important, and I hear Kirby Smart talking about that, hard to kill mentality. But do you feel that Georgia, the players, actually believe that?
I do. I think the guys believe it. They are, I think, of all the teams, pretty well battle tested. I'll throw Bama in there too, because you guys are playing a lot of ranked teams, in that stretch. Just knocking off a lot of ranked teams, and to me, that's a battle test that I feel. And I know they call this SEC bias, but like some conferences don't have that right now. In some cases,
that's true.
So, and so because of that, I feel like these guys believe in themselves. To go through a gauntlet like that and have one loss, and then be able to take from that loss because they were able to show up in the rematch. Now, granted, we know you guys had some injuries there, and I remember on the previous podcast you were saying how the quarterback Simpson, his blanket wasn't there, and that's so true. Like most quarterbacks just kind of have that comfort guy they can throw to all the time and just get out of some situations that could literally turn a game around, and he didn't have that. But you got to play who you're playing, right? So whether players are in there or not, they were able to bounce back and get a little bit of confidence, regardless of how they did it. I think they now have some confidence that they didn't. Maybe if they were searching for, they now know they have it. So I think that's going to help them, in moving forward. But if I compare it to the other years, though, I think like even the first year that they won it, I was like, man, I was hesitant. I was like, I don't know. The second year, the defense was just too outstanding. I was just like, man, if all we need is just a minimum offensive game and we good. And we had literally some of the best offensive players on our team at the time, Brock Bowers and things like that, guys that are doing it next level, and so we don't have that now, but they got a lot of grit and they got a lot of skills. We do have some showcase players. And so I feel confident. But I'm also real, I'm a realist. Things could happen.
I think they're as good a pick as anybody. I mean, nobody really stands out. I want to have faith in Bama, but I've been waiting on them to have that, jail type game. They haven't had it yet. And so, the game against Oklahoma, they showed me some heart, but I'm not confident that they're just gonna extend it into the next game, And so, but anyway, let's talk about.
May I throw my thoughts on that right there just real fast because I hear you guys. So, from a coach's point, I'm curious about your Georgia Ole Miss matchup right here because y'all have had a few weeks off, right? And to me, Georgia is starting to peak at the right time, and so I'm curious to see if that's going to carry over this next game. That's going to be, but. Ian, here's the thing I like about Alabama, and I tell this to everybody: offense will win you win your games. Defense will win you championships. Right now, Kane Womack to me is the most valuable coach on that team right now for you guys because it looks like to me that second half, that is something you can build on in that second half of that Oklahoma game. It looks like your defense is starting to project upwards, and if y'all's defense starts to match that that peak right there. Defense will win you championships because all Ty's got to do is drive the bus. So it wouldn't surprise me to see you two guys in the championship right now.
We're getting our best pass rusher back too, man.
I know that's big.
I think we're going to beat Indiana, but the reason why I'm not, you got to have somewhat of a running game. and they don't like. I've never seen a team that has zero running game, man. And so I think that's what will take us out. Now, like I said about the tight end Cuevas, he made a difference against Oklahoma, and Todd found him a couple of times, and that loosened up a lot of stuff. But you have to have somewhat of a running game. Bama doesn't have it at all,
and you're right. That one long run your guy had, the 20-yard run. The next play, it slowed the rush down where Ty had a open a clear pocket that he could throw from, and he can throw dimes when he's got time.
Yeah,
and so
he got to have time.
That's it. That is it. That's absolutely.
Yeah, y'all will be good. Y'all will be good. Your offensive coordinator, he game plans those things, those screens, all of the things that even mimic a run is something that keeps the linebackers on the hill. So I think even without a solid run game, if a good play call will still make up that difference.
Right. Well, let's no longer skip around the elephant in the room, Kevin. And I'm talking about a literal elephant, and that's the Alabama Crimson Tide. So, even Georgia could be number one, best team in the country without a doubt, and you guys are still stressed out. Like, it's bad, man. I was at work this past week, and the Georgia fans were so mad that Alabama made the playoffs. I was like, but who are y'all playing? They didn't even know. Just the obsession is ridiculous, man. So, I know you've been there. The heartbreaks trumps, So what's it like being a Georgia fan and, dealing with the Alabama, lingering there, us potentially having to meet, from year to year?
Yeah. Is that fear going to just be there? I think it's a healthy fear, though, because in the years in which we just, you guys just had our number, I felt like we had a more talented team at times to be able to just win. And so, then it goes down to, okay, was it coaching? Was it play call? Was it, everyone trying to find the excuses or whatever. But ultimately, we lost those games, and those games stay in our head every single time. We're just like, man, we should have won that game. Or, one play here, one coach call here, all of those things, they run through our head. So the nemesis is that effect is going to always be in our hearts. So if you guys can't make it, then it's a sigh of relief sometimes. It's like, okay, even if we know we can beat this team, they're probably going to beat us. In our mind, that's what we're thinking. So that's why, if this team's not there at all, then we're not going to worry about that. We'll just worry about the next team. So, and that's the thing. Your team is the team that consistently have done that to us. We can't really say that to any other team, unless you go back to the 90s when Florida was kind of, Tim Tebow days and stuff like that. So it's going to be an edge in our head, and we okay if you guys aren't there.
I remember that turnaround game when Georgia got over that Florida hump. The players, I guess they thought Mark Richt told them, if we score, y'all better all come out on the field, and they all did. They all came and danced on the field. I remember that, man, and it was more even matchups. But so Georgia, we got the playoff brackets. Number 3 seed had a bye, and as Sean mentioned earlier, you got Ole Miss, and so y'all handle business there, which I expect you to do. I'm not a Pete Golden fan. He was a defensive coordinator at Bama, and it was like teams came and played us, and it's like they were cutting their way out of a wet paper bag, man. He was that pathetic, But y'all can play Ohio State, Miami. So what's the team? We talked about that Bama stress. Okay, so what's the team that worries you the most, or what would be your preferred path to the national championship?
Because I mentioned us being battle tested, I'm just, whatever team comes in front of us, I feel like we got a good chance to beat. The one team that scares me most, though, is Ohio State. I think they are probably the most talented team of all the teams in there. And they can cause a lot of matchup problems. And so for me, that will be the team to worry. But I would like to play them, because if we can beat them, then I feel like nothing's going to stop us at that point. You know, we get past them, then we can play Alabama the following week. Like, I'm cool. Let's play them. You know, I'm cool with whoever we play next. So, but yeah, I think that will just add to our battle test of talented teams that we have beaten. But they do scare me the most because they have top to bottom talent, and they're deep. You know, they can, you know, just like most teams. But I think with NIL kind of stretching now teams can't hoard all the 5 stars anymore. You know, where you can roll out a fresh new set of 5 stars in the fourth quarter and everybody fresh. You know, NIL kind of took that away a little bit, but Ohio State still has that. And so that's the one thing that makes me nervous right now. But I feel like we can still beat them. So I'd rather, if we had to play them, let's play them. But, you know, that's the only team that scares me at this point.
Yeah. And, you know, talking about the playoffs, man, I know that you actually had family that played for James Madison that was drafted. And so, you know, we'll use them as an example. Now, you know, I'm not taking anything away from them, man. They were, you know, powerhouse FCS. You know, they battled Oregon. Now, you know, on this show, I was like 3 for 3. I picked Bama to win. I picked Miami to win. And then I, you know, felt that James Madison would give Oregon something to think about. You know, Sean was at the game. He was very complimentary of James Madison, you know, especially in the second half. But no, it was still a 51-34 loss. Tulane got manhandled, you know, by Ole Miss. So, you know, in my opinion, I feel that a lot of times fans are confusing football with basketball. Okay, so in basketball, you can have a mid-major, you know, that has a great Sweet 16, you know, run, Final Four, but that is a lot less likely, you know, in football. So here you go. You got family that played for James Madison, but you're, you know, a prominent program fan. Do you feel that schools like James Madison, Tulane, they're taking spots away from teams that legitimately have a shot to win the whole thing?
Yeah, I think they do. And I'm not trying to be, you know, funny about it, but as I mentioned before, you have, so I can go back to my little cousin who played there. Great player, but it was only one of him. You know, they had some other players at different positions, but like at that position, he was that guy. And the thing is that if he had to sit out a play, his replacement, the next person coming up, they can just go that guy's way and you know, pick up some yards. And so, but like for example, the Georgias, the Ohio States, and everyone else, you know, you got 3 or 4 people at that position. You sit out a play, the next man up, and he's going to be just as competitive. And those schools right now don't have I don't think they have the resources to match that. And so it's just, you know, and it's unfortunate. I think maybe this could be a segue into getting them the resources, you know, to allow for them to compete like that. But because it's not there yet, you know, and I mean, if I'm playing devil's advocate, it's like, yeah, maybe them being in here could cause that to happen. So I should root for that. But I just hope that does. And if it stays in this format, then I hope that will allow for schools to be able to get the resources to compete with the bigger schools. And that's just what it is right now. Yeah, this year they took a playoff spot. You know, maybe in 2 or 3 years, things could, you know, be a little bit different where they are more competitive. So yeah, that's how I see it.
And, you know, and I have to agree with you on that. For that to happen, for like a Tulane or James Madison, they're going to have the players. They're going to have that NIL money to get those players to have that depth. And when you see that, James Madison will be ranked in the top 6, top 7 because they have the players. they will actually have they will be that team that actually not only earned it, but they bought I hate to say it, but they bought the talent to be where they're at. And until then, because you're right, this isn't basketball. You're not going to see a 16 seed, in football, or a 12 seed like that beat a 1 seed. It's just not going to happen. But in basketball, we've seen it a couple of times. 16 seed beat a 1. So I absolutely love that analysis right there, my guy. Spot on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, like in how you used to say with Kobe, not Kobe, I'm sorry, got Kobe on my mind, but with Kirby, and you was like, Kirby's doing good, but I need to see how he does when he started losing coaches year in, year out, because they go to, and that's what's happening to the James Madisons and the Tulanes. They good, then their coach gonna go. Someone's gonna poach the coach, and now. So
that makes a big
then
difference.
they got to rebuild again, so it's tough out there.
Yeah. Well, man, we can't talk sports without talking to Falcons. All right. So, we lived through it all, man. The 28-3, the doggone goal line stand that didn't have just team just in neutral, man. So here we are, 2025. I think they're 6-9 out the playoffs. I like that win that they had against the Cardinals. So, we're talking about Raheem Morris here now. It feels like, he's changed the culture. Seems like the players like being there. But, you're a fan that's seen it all. So are you ready to ride that Raheem Morris bandwagon, or do you keep your guard up and just see what's going to happen here?
I was never a fan of the hire in the first place. The well said is not better than well done, because he can talk really good, to the media, to the players, all of that. But I have not seen enough action from him to warrant the responsibilities he was going to take on this year, or when they hired him 2 years ago. So I was never a fan of the hire, and I wouldn't ride it. I would totally clean house. Terry has some pretty good hits and misses from a GM standpoint, but it's similar, and I'm pretty sure we may touch on some other sports teams in Atlanta, but they've been just status quo, just mediocre, just picking up things here, patching here. And so, so it's just one of those things that I'm just like, I don't think this will work. And we need a new face in here. So, I was never a fan from the start.
And the opposite end is the Braves. Okay, so they're the gold standard. Here in the city, they had 6 straight division titles, World Series, 21. So they just know how to win. But like you just said, the Falcons and the Hawks up and down. So why do you feel it's such a big gap between the Braves and those other teams?
The GM, Double A, he's like the guy, man. He can. You look at the deals he got. Our core guys were locked up 4 or 5 years ago at probably the cheapest rate you can get any of great players. We got a MVP guy that was locked up for $100 million for 10 years. And I think he's still got a couple more years left. He could literally try to fight that right now just because. But at the time, it was a good deal. And so we're still riding that wave. And I think the GM knows how to make the right moves. Even when we won the World Series in 2021, that he piecemealed a team based off of some injuries we had. And, we went all the way. And it was like, whoa, okay. And so, you can't fight injuries now. And that's the thing about baseball. It's a long season. So, you can have a great starting lineup, and then next thing you know, you have a totally whole new lineup just because of injuries. And so because they're able to still maintain their greatness through a long season, I got to put that on the GM. He's getting the right people in here. I just don't think other GMs are doing that. I feel like now the Hawks are, with the guy they just brought in. Well, he's been here, but he was an assistant. I feel like he's making some pretty good moves, and hopefully they stick with him because he can probably put us in a good place. But our GMs aren't making the good moves, and for most of our sports teams, and that's why we like stuck in this purgatory of mediocre. It's just it's horrible.
Right.
So I got to bring something. So you were talking about your GMs, and if you're anything with a Braves fan, man, the '80s were rough. The '80s were rough for the Braves, but '83. People don't know this because the Milwaukee Brewers actually get credit for this, but they were actually tied for the most wins to begin a season, 13, and it's still a Major League Baseball record at 13 wins to start a season, right? But things changed when that general manager John Sherholtz came in and just totally restructured that team, and you're right, it does. It starts with that GM, and so you think so. I was glad to hear that because you say that you think the Falcons GM is starting to make those moves, and so how long do you give him? How long are you giving him to right that ship?
It's hard when you have to go through coaches too. I don't think he had 100% autonomy to be able to pick the players he want. I think he's picking, emotionally from, okay, the fans saying we need this, this new coach has this style, so I need this type of player. And, that's what you get paid the big bucks for, but I don't think he's been able to create his own identity and form the team that he wants. And I feel like that starts with the coach. So if they hire a new coach before, let's say, the draft or whatever, then I feel like he's just going to kind of fall back in that mode of, let me see what, and I know they kind of have to do that too. It's just part of the business, but I don't think he's making them calls by himself. And I think if he's able to do that, he'll be good. So I don't know. I think he's doing as good as he can with the options that he's given, but until they let him take full reign and say, "Hey, I'm picking the scene. Let me get the right players in here. Let me make sure we drop these contracts and know who to sign and who to bring back and things like that." Let him do that. Let him do his job. And unless they let him do that, I don't think he's going to be too successful. He'll make some decent picks, but then he's got to rely on the coach to make sure that goes well. I'm not sure if that really will. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Well, like we said, we've been friends a long time, and one of the craziest experiences is going with you to Hawks games, man. And sitting courtside, Kevin, long time, season ticket courtside owner, and we've had some crazy games there, man. I remember one night we was sitting behind Draymond Green, giving him the business. But it's such a difference sitting there and sitting elsewhere, in the facility. But what's your favorite moment, man? Sitting courtside, maybe an interaction with a fan, a celebrity. Tell me about your courtside visits there.
When you're there often, outside of the players, you get to meet the you get to meet like the familiar faces, people that's also longtime season ticket holders and family members. So run into Trae Young's dad. We were sitting at the buffet in the back and eating some food, and I was just kind of talking, and we just had a regular conversation. He was like the most normal guy you could think of. It was just regular conversation. So that was fine. A week later, we go to LA for the UGA championship game. So I fly up there, and I was like, you know what, the Hawks are playing. Let me get some seats here. They catch this. I think he was playing the Clippers when they were sharing the same stadium with the Lakers at the time. And so I go there, run into Trae Young's dad again. And he's like, he actually remembered me. He was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And so we was talking again while we were there. And it was those type of experiences right there kind of stand out because you at the game all the time. You know, it's what 41 home games, so you know you gotta have some moments at the stadium. I just take in the experience, but I love the smaller experience that you have with the interactions with other fans and even family members of teams of the players. And so that kind of stood out. He remembered me. We was able to talk. We hung out a little bit, and then so I still now to this day. I actually went to the game last night. Heartbreaking loss, but bumped into him again. So we was just kind of talking a little bit. But those little moments are for me. I like those other than the sports because I love watching the game. I'm there. I'm not trying to show off. I'm talking trash, just like you were to Draymond that night. And, you should probably tell your story on that one, man. That was awesome.
I think I want to hear that story.
No, that's the funny thing about Kevin. Like he's there to watch the game. I'm there to sit courtside, drink, go back in a little club, have some fun. But anyway, man, we're sitting behind the Warriors. We're sitting behind Steph. We're sitting behind Clay. But just looking at the back of Draymond's head made me mad, man. And I wanted to fight him. And so,
my God.
I'm like, I'm trying to get his attention. And then one of the assistant coaches who played in the league, I can't remember his name, but he was like, bro. He was like, Draymond is going to give you the attention that you want. I ain't care, man. I still keep it up. But at the end of the game, we take a picture. But the funny thing, I'm so busy trying to pick a fight with Draymond. Steph had lost his mind that night. He had like 53 points, and I'm didn't see 1 point because I'm mad at Draymond Green's head. So,
what were you drinking that night so we can keep you away from that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
That's the best place because courtside seats comes some personal butlers, whatever you want to eat, whatever. So I took full advantage of that. Yeah. Quick question for you, man. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Okay, so let's talk about loyalty, right? So we're going to factor in, even though Georgia is still, moving along, looking good. Falcons, they're out of there. Hawks, they're out of there. The Braves, we don't know. Okay, but if you had a magic wand and you can guarantee that one of these teams wins the championship in 2026, who would you pick and why?
I'll pick the Falcons simply because I can't have the Saints have a championship over us right now. That's their bread and butter right now. When their fans talk trash to us, we can't say we got a championship, and I need us to get one to shut that down. I can't argue a Saints fan right now. We can beat them all year, and then they throw out there, well, y'all ain't got a Super Bowl win, and I was like, dang, I got no more for them at that point. So I need that so I can continue my arguments with them. So give me that in 2026. I'm cool with that.
All right. So since you brought up the three teams, I got a question for you, KJ.
Sure.
Out of the big three, right here of Georgia, right here, which one has given you the most? I guess the best memory, the most at that one moment you were like, "Damn, this is what it's all about." Which one of those three gives you the memory that you'll go to your grave cherishing?
So I was at two championships. One was the Braves. I was at that one, and the 2021 one.
Okay.
And obviously I went to the we'll be talking the big three, but I was at the UGA championship game too. But I would say the Braves gave me a satisfying feeling because when they won it in '95. I was, still high school. I guess I was still in high school at that point. And although I watched them, everything was great. It was the start of I felt like should have been a dynasty. But in my mind, I was just like, oh, yeah, they'll get this again. Everything is cool, whatever. And then it never happened, until 2021. Yep. And so when it happened, then like I took it in because I felt like we beat a lot of teams to like it wasn't an easy path in there. You know, when Georgia beat TCU, like the reason why I went to that game because I knew it was a guaranteed win. There was no offense to TCU, like it had a great year. I was like, this is a guaranteed win. I'm going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it was not like that with the Braves. And just watching them walk through the teams, you know, just I'm like, whoa, we beat them. Oh man, we beat them. Oh man, like, and I knew Houston was going to get us, and I was just like, wow, we just, you know, it's almost like we didn't give them a chance, and it just felt so satisfying. Like, yes, this is what I've been needing and missing, and all of that stuff. So to me, that was probably the most satisfying feeling. Being there, feeling it, taking it in is like, you know, real championship. You know, I'm here for it, and it was. I don't think I'm going to take that with me. I don't think I'll. I don't. It'll be hard for a team to replace that.
Right.
Yes, sir.
And I got a final question for you, man. I know you're on daddy duty tonight, and so
Yep.
you know, thank you for taking the time out to talk. But
Sure.
it's something that we talked about earlier. You know, you have a lot of what you call implants here. You know, not a lot of people that's born and raised from Atlanta. You know, so let's talk about food, man. A lot of times when it comes to Atlanta, people fall victim to the hype. You know, they'll go to the Varsity to eat, or they'll go to Magic City. You know, when the real people know, you know, Blue Flame, Strokers. You know, so when it comes to food, you know, say people, man, you're Atlanta, you know, born and bred. Where's a good place to get some food after a game?
Ooh, after a game. Wow. Yeah, that is on the spot. After a game, we're looking at what's still open at that point.
Let's say it's a midday game on a Sunday, you know, so things are still open.
Okay. See, I'm probably gonna age myself here, but when I was younger, we used to go eat the soul food spot. You know, JJ's Rib Shack. And it got kind of popular to the point where like sometimes, you know, he picked the days that he would be open. and so, but the food was always good. Oh my God, it was always good. And that would probably be my go-to. And that's if you went to soul food. They got a lot of other good soul food places here, but that's like old school. That's old Atlanta food right there. I would probably recommend that. And then, you know, I want to just give you something else, but yeah, that would probably be my go-to. AJ's Rib Shack. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I got that written down, my guy. I got that written down.
Gotta go. Gotta check it out.
You know what we always like to do, man. We want to, you know, give you time, give you the floor. Do you want to give a shout out? Something you want to get off your chest? You know, talk about the Dogs, playoffs. You know, this is your time.
Yeah. Okay, fair. Well, let's see here. Well, I want to thank you guys, you know, for having me on. You know, watch the podcast, you know, often. And so definitely, you know, appreciate that opportunity. You know, family is big for me though. And so definitely got to shout out my two daughters. They are getting into the sports vibe, and maybe they'll keep it. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see what the passion is. You know, I just wish for the success for my dogs. You know, if we play Bama, we get that win. Maybe I can get the analysis type vibe to be able to explain the end what happened. You know, hey, see, this is why we won. You know, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll keep our friendship going. But the biggest thing, you know, just especially in the holidays, you know, I just want everyone to, you know, just take in family, you know, take in the love, you know, if you, you know, and family could be, you know, blood or even through friendships, you know, so, you know, just cherish that moment, your health and your life, and just make sure that, you know, you pay it forward to others, you know, if you can. So that's what I'm here for. Again, grateful to the opportunity of being on this show. And that's what I'm walking away with.
Well, brother, I can't thank you enough for being here. And, I love your sports knowledge, but, your friendship, man, like you showed me the city. You looked out for me in ways twice that kept me here. And so I value you, man. And, we can be rivals of teams, although I really don't know who Georgia's true rival is. We'll talk about that another time, but, but regardless, man, wins, losses, our friendship always comes first, man. So I thank you, for our memories since the 90s joining us today. And, I hope that you Georgia fans can figure that stress out, man, because we probably will see each other again.
I'm looking forward to it.
and KJ, I'm up here in the Pacific Northwest. I'm about 30 minutes west of Portland. Brother, if you're ever up in my area, all I needed to know is you're friends with Ian, and that's enough. That's enough spoken right there. We got spare bedrooms in this house. You're welcome in my house anytime, my guy, and I'll show you around. And that's just how it goes.
I lived that way. I lived in Seattle for a couple years, actually. So
I saw that on your Twitter. I saw that, man. I don't know how you did it.
Cost of living.
So, that's it. Oh, that's right. And hey, everybody out here, I guess we're fixing to wrap up. Is that right here, Ian? We're going to wrap this up here. But before we go here, man, a couple things. Hey, if you're on X, follow us at give us a follow at College Crew on X. And if you're on YouTube, man, follow us at College Sports Crew and hit that subscribe button. Man, that's where we're trying to grow. And also too, hey, it's Christmas Eve. Kevin, KJ, thank you so much, man. It's Christmas Eve, and you decided to do a show on Christmas Eve, man. Dude, can't even thank you enough for that. But also too, on Christmas Eve, we want to speak to those who are carrying way more than most people will ever see. To our active duty service members, wherever you are in the world tonight, thank you. While others are home surrounded by warmth and family, you're standing watch. You're missing moments so others can have them, and that sacrifice matters more and means more than words can explain. To our veterans, this season can be hard. For some, Christmas brings joy. For others, it brings memories, empty chairs, and reminders of people who ain't here and didn't make it home. If that's you tonight, hear this clearly, and I mean hear it clearly. It's not, you're not a broken, and you're not forgotten. The strength that carried you through service is still inside you, even the days you don't feel like it. You don't have to be okay tonight. You don't have to have the answers. You just have to know that someone still sees you, still values you, and still cares whether you are here tomorrow. This community does, and I can tell you right now, me and Ian, we do, because this is Veteran Sports Podcast. This is your voice. So from all of us here at Veterans Voice Podcast and the College Sports Crew, Merry Christmas, wherever you are and whatever you're carrying. You're part of this family, and you never have to walk alone, my friends. And with that, we appreciate you guys. Thank you. And KJ, thank you again, my man. We'll see you later.
And roll tide, baby.